Picture a completely barren wasteland. Absolutely nothing grows here. There are no harvests, no supply lines, and no markets. Yet every morning, 2 million people woke up to find their survival guaranteed, for free, delivered directly to the sand outside their tents. But a few weeks into this daily delivery, a low murmur of complaint rippled through the camp. These newly freed people demanded to go back to the exact system of slavery they had just escaped, simply because they missed the old menu. They were so bewildered by the sweet white flakes appearing at dawn that they never even gave it a proper name. In their language, they asked, "Man who?" Literally, what is this? For 40 years, every time they sat down to eat, they were essentially asking someone to pass the "I don't know what it is." The real puzzle here has nothing to do with what that bread actually was. The unsettling question is how a massive population could receive the most extraordinary provision in history and then turn around and label it as garbage. If you look for natural explanations today, you'll quickly find a popular biological theory. In the Sinai Desert, there is a tiny insect living on the tamarisk shrub that excretes a sugary liquid. On cold nights, it crystallizes into sweet white pellets that fall to the ground. Those insects absolutely exist, and locals have gathered those drops for centuries. But the math falls entirely apart. The tamarisk produces a few kilos of this substance over a short, specific season. Trying to feed 2 million mouths with that every single day for 4 uninterrupted decades is like trying to explain the volume of an ocean by pointing to a leaky faucet. This graphic shows the core problem. On the left is the chaotic scatterplot of a natural biological cycle, and on the right, a strict 7-day calendar grid. No sap in the world decides to take Saturdays off. Biology does not respect human schedules, yet this provision completely halted every 7th day without a single failure. Debating the precise chemical makeup of these white flakes means falling into the exact same trap those ancient wanderers did. They stared at the ground trying to classify a flake, completely missing that this entire system was designed to train their minds. This daily provision came with bizarre rules. The primary command was to gather exactly enough for one single day, 1 measure per person in your tent, and absolutely no building a secret stash for tomorrow. If a fearful person tried to build up their own security behind God's back, they woke up to a foul surprise. Any portion tucked away for the next morning immediately bred worms and disintegrated into a foul-smelling rot. There was exactly one exception. On the 6th day, everyone gathered double to prepare for the day of rest. And that specific portion, kept overnight for the Sabbath, woke up perfectly fresh and edible. By enforcing a strict daily limit, the entire social hierarchy of their past collapsed. The young, strong worker who rose early to fill his container and the elderly person who could barely bend down to gather a handful both ended the day with exactly what they needed. No one could gain an advantage over their neighbor. Every restriction functioned as a daily assault on human fear. It forced 2 million people to lie down every night with empty pantries, relying entirely on the trust that the sky would rain food again, right on time at dawn. The vulnerability of having empty hands felt terrifying compared to where they came from. In Egypt, they had a guaranteed food supply, but the price of that bread was paid in daily beatings, extreme quotas, and total loss of autonomy. Their minds had been molded by 400 years of a brutal system. They were conditioned to believe you only ate if you complied with a master and produced physical value until your body broke down. So when the psychological weight of trusting the sky became too heavy, they started talking about their abusers with shining eyes. They complained about the daily miracle while nostalgically longing for the free fish, cucumbers, melons, leeks, and onions they ate under the whip. They were surrounded by absolute freedom and actively despised it. They were willing to trade a divine provision for a single Egyptian onion, simply because obeying a cruel master felt safer than trusting a generous father. Before the desert wandering ended, a very specific instruction was given. 1 single measure of this daily bread was to be set apart, sealed inside a golden jar, and stored permanently inside the Ark of the Covenant. It was preserved as a memorial for future generations. The daily food would spoil in a single night, But this particular portion was shielded against time itself, because human memory and gratitude decay much faster than any physical substance. Centuries later, when King Solomon finished building the Great Temple and brought the Ark to its final resting place, they opened it to check the contents. There was nothing inside except the 2 stone tablets. The jar of manna was inexplicably missing. A monument intentionally shielded against physical decay was somehow still lost to human carelessness. Even the ultimate, tangible proof of grace couldn't survive a people's deeply ingrained apathy. It is incredibly easy to judge the people in the desert until you look at the white flakes sitting outside your own tent. We all receive steady, faithful provisions, like a stable job, a loving relationship, or basic daily health, that repeats so often we eventually label them a boring routine. We roll our eyes at the exact things we once begged for on our knees. And when that boredom sets in, we do exactly what they did. We look backward, romanticizing the toxic situations of our own pasts just because we miss the predictability. But the story of that bread isn't quite finished. In the book of Revelation, the exact same food reappears. Only this time, the hidden manna is promised at the end of time as a reward for those who remain faithful. The bread that was once thrown away is now a hidden treasure. The daily miracle never actually stops falling. It simply waits, reserved for anyone who refuses to let their gratitude rot.